Magna-X and Imperial? Who would have ever thought that you can combine them both together to create this crazy build? Digi-Egg cards, I'm always trying to prioritize on draw power, which is why I got the 4 copies of Veemon, which ensures that we can find our pieces as we try to attack as much as possible, as long as we have a green Digimon. Now let's move on to the rookies, and talking about it, we definitely need to have the 4 of Veemon from BT12, no less at all, because this is our main searcher, grabbing us any free trait Digimon, and Davis as well. And this is always the one that we want to hard play as soon as possible, just because we play more Davis Tamers to ensure that we get the double hits. End of turn inherit effect to DNA is always super important to help us climb into our Imperialdramon with our XVs and any of our level 4s. For the other Veemon, I'm running 3 copies of the promo one, just so we can reduce our Digivolution cost, but also making sure we get the additional draw power with his inherited, which is also not once per turn. As we move on and talk about our Wormmons, we got the standard 4 off of the BT12 one, which does exactly the same as the Veemon to search, but aside from grabbing Davis, we grab Ken instead, which we don't have as many compared to that. So therefore, this is the one I always like to build in the back with instead. And for our other ones, I always like to tech in the one of promo just to increase the amount of end of turn DNAs with his inherit effect, but also with his on play to further search, grabbing any 2-color card, which can include Primogenitor, the Tamers, as well as all of our blue and green armor cards as well at the same time, which is really important, especially when it comes to this particular build. Same goes for the BT16 one, especially in the mid and late game stages, that we can recur any resource we want to Digivolve, especially when it comes to our level 4s as well. Speaking of level 4s, definitely must have the 4 copies of BT12X Veemon. Gaining the memory as you DNA is what helps you keep your turn, but most importantly, having jamming in your stack is what ensures your safety attacks into your opponent's security as well. And I'm not running any other XVs because we need to save room for additional cards, which we'll talk about just in a bit. And surprisingly, I'm only running 1 copy of the BT12 Stingmon. Even though gaining the memories back and having the piercing is nice, we're not really playing the traditional Imperial deck because we're actually trying to prioritize a lot on our armors. And starting with it, we have 3 copies of ALittleSpoon. Since this deck has a little bit of a larger ratio of Veemons compared to Wormmons, being able to Digivolve for 2 is what we're always trying to get into. But one of the biggest weaknesses with this deck are floodgate rookies that prevent you from gaining memory, especially ones that prevent you from playing by effects, which completely shuts off your Davis and Ken. And that is exactly where ALittleSpoon comes in to get rid of them, which is always important. Next, we got Togemogumon, which is the one that ideally Digivolves on top of Wormmon for the 2 costs. This card alone can hold down your defenses in the early stages of the game to stop your opponents with their rush strategy, because it can block, strip their source, stun something all at the same time. And by running more dual color level 4s, you can make an argument that you can get into your DNA stacks way quicker compared to the traditional Imperial build that solely relies on XV and specifically Sting. And I'm not done with armors yet, because I also play 2 copies of Magnamon from the Starter Deck 17, both black and blue, which is really crucial. It acts as a security bomb to de-Digivolve, which stops against a lot of decks. Having access to this form of removal is super crazy in Imperial. But not only that, you can always Digivolve on top of your Veemon afterwards, strip sources and bounce something, which always gives you access to climb into your Magna-X. And that is the whole reason why we're playing so many armor forms, is to ensure that when we go into Magna-X, we have that specific trait to keep its protection and immunity alive. Level 5s, we're still trying to take advantage of the Imperial Core engine, where we have to play 4 of the Imperialdramon from BT16, stunning the board, suspending everything, being able to attack and unsuspend at the same time, and partition is still one of the best cards and the best cores that you must include no matter what. And as for the starter deck one, it's still great to bottom deck your opponent's Digimon, swing multiple times, which is kind of like the BT16 one, but I'm only running 1 copy of that now because we want to make room for a new and sort of old edition, which is the BT12 Dino Veemon. This card, being able to gain you DP buffs and suspend down an opponent's Digimon, can help you take down a lot of bigger things and make your stack even bigger. Its inherited effects is actually super crucial to synergize with Magna-X, so that we can ensure that we can trash our opponent's security by taking down their Digimon, so then we can proc our immunity again as we attack with it. And this is where we'll go and talk about our level 6, starting with Magna-X, where I'm running 2 copies of. You guys know how strong this card is all alone. Blocker, armor purge, gaining DP, being able to unsuspend, Being able to go for offensive and defensive strategies with this card is what really makes it so strong, and it fits nicely into this deck where I can't wait to show you guys the combos later on too. But as per standard, still got the 2 copies of Dragon Mode to threaten a potential ace, stop our opponents from digivolving or playing anything by effects, as well as suspending things down and continue to control the board as we pressure to go into fighter mode ace, which I'm also still running 2 copies of, as that package is our alternative. Now we have a wide range of tools of many different interactions that we can have against our opponents, which is why I really like this level 6 lineup, because fighter mode ace, we bottom deck things, unsuspend, attack again, and always threaten the ace even with Imperialdramon as well alone. And that's it for level 6s. Level 7 still must have paladin mode ace, and I'm running it as a one-off. Really good to recycle trash, especially against the opponent's purple decks, to make them reset and start all over again. Punish wide boards, bottom deck. This card is just absolutely insane, being able to attack multiple times as you go for it as well, and always an extra layer of blast counter ace against the opponents. That's it for Digimon. Let's talk about Tamers. Still really important because this is an Imperial deck after all, so 4 copies of Davis Ken is a must-have. That's why we play the Veemons. That's why we play the Wormmon, so we can continuously play them for free in the early stages, and setting this up as soon as possible on the board gives us so much advantage to trash sources, gain memory, and continue to find pieces over and over again to build our optimal stack and get our engine going. As for the BT3 Davis, still got the 2 copies of to help us search potentially double hits. Being our main memory setter is still really crucial. And that wraps up our Tamers, and let's move on to our options. I'm running 2 copies of Return of Primogenitor. Did you guys know this is not only used to digivolve into Imperialdramon, you can digivolve into any free trait by reducing the cost by 4. That means we get to go into Magna for the 2 costs of using this option for free, which is absolutely insane. And this is how we can continue to attack and have an immune stack off of it too. Delay is always great, because if our stack is ever in threat, we can always go into any Imperialdramon that we need. Magna-X can go into Paladin, regular Dragon mode can go to Fighter mode can go into Paladin as well. Giving our stack deletion protection alongside with partition is what gives our stack the ultimate immunity that we always needed. And for the cost reduction, that is exactly the same reason why I'm running Hidden Potential, which is one of my personal favorites in the Imperial deck, no matter what version I'm running. Just being able to climb up for reduced cost of 5 is always really efficient. And now we have the addition to utilize Awakening of the Golden Knight. Because we play so many armor forms, this is where this card really fits in nicely to help us warp straight into Magna-X off of it, which is incredibly insane too. And last but not least, I also included the one-off Hammer Spark, just because we're not gaining as much memory because of playing fewer Stingmons compared to the standard Imperial build. Having this to help us give that extra memory really matters, so that we can continue to play and combo off, which is always really nice. And of course, security effect for surprises to potentially steal turn or limit our opponent's plays is always great too. Tech choices and other cards that you guys can also include for the Imperial armor build specifically, starting off with Jade Memory Boost from the LM set, which is designed for this archetype to help you search even more in the early stages and keep up with consistency. Being able to grab any blue or green Digimon is fantastic, and with its delay in return to give you memory back is always really important to keep your combos going. There's the BT16 Demi Veemon if you're ever looking for extra DP buffs during all turns. The red Veemon from BT16 can do the same. You can also gain memory when you play or digivolve another Digimon, which is always nice. There's also XV, which has the blue and red, which gives you the raid capability and also prevents something from being deleted by battle for a whole turn, which is also nice. Same in Hurlbut as the red Veemon to gain extra 2000 DP. You can always include the Star Deck Stingmon just to hard drop it for reduced cost and give you the draw power that you need. There's also the BT12 Imperialdramon to strip even more sources, giving you a little bit more control, and you can even gain memory back with his inherit effect at the end of attack. Aside from the current level 6 lineup, Hexablaumon is something that a lot of people are teching in as well, to strip even more sources, but to potentially bottom deck Tamers, and his Floodgate effect preventing your opponent's Digimon from suspending is still really good to buy you extra time and make it difficult for them to work around. As an additional level 7, you can also play the Blitz Omni, which synergizes greatly with Paladin Mode Ace. Not only as a game finisher, but if you bottom deck it from the trash with Paladin Mode Ace, you can gain 3 memory, potentially stealing turn or going into Paladin Mode Ace for effectively less cost. There's also the BT17 Davis and Ken, which is another memory setter, and whenever your stack is sort of in threat, you can always play something back out from the sources to keep your board afloat so you can keep playing over and over again and continue your combos that way too. If you're looking for even more removal, Gigadef is always great, not only just to deal with wide boards, but by bottom decking even just one of your opponent's boss monsters can really turn the whole situation around. And last but not least, there's always Ice Wall, which can slow games down for an extra turn, and the same reason why we run Hammer Spark for its security effect. Alright, combos and how to play the Imperial armor deck. Starting with your mulligan hand, just like regular Imperial, you're just trying to find your search pieces. Veemon, Wormmon, Davis and Ken to play them out for free. To find your level 4s, you want to DNA Digivolve, go into your level 5s, Imperialdramon or Dino B, and then eventually climb up to your level 6s that way. To begin combo number 1, one memory is all you need. What you want to have is a level 4 setup. In this case, let's say Togemugumon with Wormmon and sources, and a Davis and Ken. You're going to push out and you can just go ahead and play Veemon off Davis and Ken. You're going to search, find your pieces, and then Digivolve into XV for 2 costs. Really important to make sure you have XV because the jamming is really crucial, and also making sure you have one end of turn DNA either or in your stack, because once you Digivolve for 2, you're going to have to use the end of turn to DNA. XV, when it would DNA, you get to gain that memory back to go into Imperialdramon. Then you're going to use Davis and Ken to suspend to gain a memory and strip sources. Always make sure to do this after you DNA, so then your Imperialdramon will suspend the rest and prevent your opponent from the suspending. And then this is where you're just going to go ahead with classic Imperial combos, swing with the Imperialdramon, suspend something, nothing suspended, you get to unsuspend, you also get to draw for Demi V as well, jamming 1 check. Next, you're going to swing once more into your opponent's security, same thing, jamming 1 check. What you want to do afterwards is you can end the turn by going into Magna-X for the 4 cost, Digivolve, and then unsuspend. Because you have a Togemogu in there, now with Magna-X, you're going to be immune with Partition. If your opponent ever tries to get rid of it or anything happens afterwards, once the protection wears off, you partition and get to play out XV and your Togemogumon. And the reason why Togemogumon is really good is because once it hits the board, if your opponent tries to attack you with rookies or try to go into hybrids with one source only, you strip away that source and you also get to block with it, which is why it's really good in this meta. And for multiple times I play this version of the deck, I encounter opponents that actually forget about this effect quite often. For combo number 2, I'm going to show you guys how you can potentially swing for 4 checks in one single turn, and this time you want to have a similar setup but with an additional Davis Ken that can help you get there. 1 memory is all you need, and having a level 4 ready to push out in the raising as well. Go with XV, starter main for the first one, play a Veemon to search, and then go for a second one to search again. Then you get to Digivolve into ALittleSpoon. Very important to make sure there's an armor form. This time we're just showcasing this one instead of Togemogu. And here is the moment where you want to identify if your opponent has a Floodgate Rookie or not. If they do and you want to take over it, then this is where you will suspend the first Davis and Ken to gain a memory back first, so that your XV can swing over it and also draw one off Demi V to maximize your drawing and then take down that Floodgate Rookie. If they don't have it, you can just go ahead and make sure again you have end of turn DNA. You're going to DNA your XV and your Lydra together to go into Imperialdramon just like before. And by going into it, you get to gain a memory off XV, and then you also get to suspend Davis and Ken to gain another memory to keep your turn as well and strip additional sources and also suspend down the board just like before. Here is where you get to attack with Imperialdramon, and then you get to unsuspend, draw 1 with Demi V. Since you DNA, you get to reset the inheritables as well, and then swing again once more. This is where you can look to end your turn to go into the normal classic combo of Dragon Mode for 3, and then you suspend down your opponent's Digimon or Tamers and then unsuspend. And then here is how you're going to threaten the ace with Fighter Mode, just like normal. Now, this is a little bit different this time because with the inclusion of Magna-X, and if you have Return of the Primogenitor, you're going to use this for 2 cost to actually Digivolve into Magna-X for reduce of 4. With that, because you have an armor form, which is really important, like I mentioned, having a Lydra, you get to unsuspend, swing for another check, activate all turns effect to unsuspend again, gain another extra 3k, you're already immune at this point, and then you swing again, and that's 4 hits, meaning if your opponent has 3 or fewer security, this would have potentially just ended the game alone. For the third combo, I want to show you guys how you can best utilize Dino Veemon to gain maximum efficiency with Magnamon X as well. So just like before, you want to have a level 4 ready in the raising as well with Davis and Ken. 1 memory is all you need and you're ready to push out. This time we're going to play out the promo Veemon off Davis and Ken's effect, and then we can Digivolve into X-Veemon for reduced cost of 1 thanks to Veemon because we do have a blue Tamer. Just like usual, we're going to go for the DNA to go into Dino B, XV is going to gain a memory back, suspend Davis Ken to gain another one, and strip sources as well. And then Dino B is going to suspend down one of your opponent's Digimon right here. If your opponent only has one Digimon, you don't want to swing with Dino B's effect just yet. Because you have jamming, might as well utilize it and actually attack into their security and draw 2 cards, one for Demi V and one for the V. Just like before, this is where you're going to use the Primogenitor for 2 cost. You're going to Digivolve into Magna X. Magna X is going to unsuspend, and making sure again you have the armor form in the sources. Togemogumon is what fulfills that, and then it gets to unsuspend. When it unsuspends, this is when you swing over the opponent's Digimon. So when you take it down, you should have enough DP to go over it, and then you're going to trash your opponent's security. Since you trash your opponent's security, you also get to unsuspend, and you get to swing again. And that's why it's such a cool combo and such great synergy overall with this particular build. The Ultimate Dragonkin Collection is a very special limited series. It symbolizes a huge part of my journey since the very beginning. So make sure to grab yours on the AVAULT store right now, and I really appreciate the support. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, whatever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.